Well, welcome back, everybody. If you can see, we're back in the studio today. And if you notice something's missing and the seed tray is missing, we transplanted our seeds over the weekend, which would have been Friday, and no sooner had we transplanted them, the wind decided to blow and blow a little more and a little bit harder, and just about every seedling that we transplanted got laid over. So I don't know how many of them are going to make it. And so time will tell. Uh, so yeah, we're got the tractors and the wolves back in front. So hopefully those seedlings will stand back up and take off. Only a couple of them, the stems were broken. So I know I lost at least two or three of the okra for sure. But I don't know. Hopefully they'll rebound, and we got some calm weather and sunshine coming in. So hopefully they'll start looking up. Wheat field looks amazing. It's fully headed out. You know, nice large heads on the wheat. The wheat's nice and thick. It's still way ahead, so fingers crossed, no bad weather comes and destroys it, because if because we're gonna have a pretty good crop if it makes. Um, the sweet corn, like I said, we transplanted all the sweet corn that did come up into one corner, and about 30 to 33 plants survived, and all of them are really thriving and looking extremely well, which I'll try to show that in Thursday's video. Um, the Jimmy Red has sprouted. It's coming up. Wonderful looking rows. Cultivated that today. So that will be Thursday's video, is actually cultivating and also planting our yellow dent. Planting didn't go perfect. Sometime in the process of planting the 16 rows of the yellow dent corn, one of the tubes of the planter got clogged. I don't know when it happened or where it happened, and I really didn't want to go and waste more seed going in, so I'm going to wait a week. So next weekend, what sprouts, I'll know where it's going to be, and I'll take my leftover seed and go and probably hand plant from there, trying to get a good stand out of that. And then another 3 weeks, we'll end up planting our experimental corn, which I don't know if I've really talked about that much, but I'm going to try to take the Jimmy Red and the Yellow Dent, plant them together, and hopefully they will cross pollinate and create a hybrid that'll have some. Hopefully, fingers crossed, will have some traits that I really want to have in a corn. So that's kind of some of the farm related. Been really working hard. If you've been paying attention to the Facebook page, the wife and I have been in the process of repainting the steam engine, and it looks incredible. That video won't come out probably until next Thursday. And at that point in time, the engine itself should already be at Pawnee. Fingers crossed, everything's done. We still got a lot of work left to do. Probably all this week we'll be finishing it up and getting it done. Kristen also has a new tractor. We'll be posting pictures of that on the Facebook page, and I'll be making a video about that as well. Probably her first time driving it and stuff like that. So stay in tune for that. I don't know when that video is going to drop, or I might add it into another video. Which brings us into the title topic of the video: is the old-fashioned way outdated? Um, and I really think that that's all more or less your perspective of what are you considering it outdated or old-fashioned. Now, the old methods, do they produce a better quality crop? In my opinion, yes. And that's really in a lot of things. The old-fashioned way was done for time and pride go into something, and it creates the best possible outcome. Um, Time and modern technology has done amazing things. Don't get me wrong; it's done some wonderful things. It's cut down on time, um, less effort, and it's really sped up the process so you can produce a lot more. And that's in anything, in manufacturing, in uh, crops. It's just, but I think there is a downside to that. I just don't think the quality is near as good. Prime example, I mean, you look at equipment, say, actually, if you'll see, the 1941 H John Deere, we're still using it today, 85 years later. And based off some information that my grandpa was able to tell me, that it's only really been overhauled once. It's new rings, the engine kind of gone through and tightened back up, but not a terrible whole lot of work. And you think a tractor today, is it going to be running in 10 years? And that's a legitimate question between just the way things are built. Now, granted, they're making these tractors now tenfold the amount, just mass numbers. They got an assembly line that is ridiculously fast. They're putting these things together and pumping them out so quickly. But the quality, I just don't think is as good as what it was. Things today just aren't built to last. So I guess it all really comes down to, is to define something as outdated is there's no place for it anymore. Um, yeah, and I guess if you're going to consider, if you're farming more than 1,000 acres, yeah, the tractors that were built in the 30s, really anything pre 1990, isn't going to be able to keep up with the demand of just the high volume that it's going to take to keep up in an industry. So I guess it all really boils down to perspective of just how much are you trying to do and what's your end goal? Are you focused on quality over quantity? Then yeah, the old school methods are the way to go. You're in just doing the math just off my small operation is my input costs are next to nothing. Only thing I really have is fuel cost, seed cost, and just my time. Um, all the equipment's pretty well been paid for, and it's not that expensive either. Using older equipment, doing all the work on it myself, which is another huge cost saver. You go to look and get a modern tractor, well, a tractor that's less than 20 years old, it's going to cost you quite a bit to get it, to maintain it, for upkeep, repairs. And the older tractors, they're not cheap to fix either, especially if it's a major repair. But compared to a modern tractor, it's just not even close. Not even close. Um, so, like I said, it's all about your perspective. It's what are you trying to accomplish? Like our farm, for example, is we're not trying to compete with these bigger farms and bringing large quantities of grain to a elevator or a wholesaler or a buyer. That's the reason why we bought the mill, is so that way all of that uh, cost that is going into production of getting it to the consumer, we basically cut out all the middlemen and we're going to go direct to consumer. So all the profit is coming to us, not having to share profits with a buyer and then a processor. So it does save us some. And so what we did is we found a little corner of the market that there's not a lot of competition with, that we can produce a quality product that we can sell direct to the consumer. So that way the consumer knows where that product's coming from, what all is in it, and kind of trying to rebuild that producer to consumer relationship that has so sadly been lost. There are so many people today that don't know where all the ingredients in that cheeseburger they're eating came from. Do they know what farm that beef came from, or pork, or chicken, or whatever? Um, the the wheat that went into that bun, where was it grown? Where was it milled? Where was it baked? Even, there's such a loss of the producer to consumer that people just don't know where their food's coming from, and I just feel like that's something that some people might like to know, and if I'm producing a quality product that people want to buy, I feel like I've done my job. And like I said, I'm still working a full-time job to be able to pay for the farm, which, based off what I've been able to see and read, it's pretty standard across the board. There's only a handful of farmers that are truly, that's their sole job, is farming. There's so many farms that the farmer is working a full-time job to help pay for or bridge the gap so that way they can have enough money to farm, which is kind of sad, as our society has really made it hard for, and it's not just farmers, it's also other industries that are in the market that are creating a product for the public. So before I get off on too deep of a rabbit trail, so we'll kind of get back on the path here of the whole, is the old fashioned way outdated? Is it the right way? I like to think it is, because if it wasn't, then it kind of negates everything I'm doing. But as you can see, there's some people who agree with the way I think, and I'm happy. If you got a different opinion or agree with me, be sure to leave a comment. I like hearing what people have to say, and uh, just room for debate. Just, I want to understand people who also agree with me, and also the people who don't agree with me. I want to understand, maybe not how can I win you over to my side, but I just want to understand your point of view, because I think that's the best way for people to communicate, is to have these open discussions and just be able to communicate, so that way maybe that's something that you don't know, you can ask me questions about why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that way you can better understand. Well, then I can ask you questions as well, so that way I can understand the way you think, and maybe it's just a miscommunication, or you misinterpreted something, or I misinterpreted something. People have lost touch with each other. Some people are, the keyboard warriors are so quick to judge people and say, "Oh, you're wrong," or "You're doing this wrong." And maybe I am. Maybe I'm doing this completely 100% wrong, and I'm going to fail miserably. But, I'm having fun. This isn't, I'm not banking on this being successful. I think I'd be crazy if I did. if this whole farming adventure is going to be profitable. And that's part of the whole, I guess, kind of experiment. This all really started, the whole farm really started as growing up, listening to all the stories of these big gatherings, these big harvest parties, where they would harvest the grain and the wheat, thrash it, and at the end of the day, when the harvest is all finished, they have a big dinner and just a big party. And I kind of wanted to bring that back to life and to redo it and to somewhat reenact it, and then also same time just invite some friends out to just a private harvest day, have a thrash little grain, and then uh, just have a big just dinner and a party, just friends, just remembering good old days. And it became a sleepless night rabbit hole deep dive in the internet, and one thing led to another, and now it's turned into a startup business. And yeah, it went a little farther, got a little carried away, but like I said, I'm having fun, and this is all it kind of turned into a experiment slash challenge of, can I do it? Is it still possible to be a small farm and be profitable? And to go ahead and just clear everything up, my definition of profitable, or what I will consider this whole situation profitable, is to not spend more money than what it makes, to not lose money. And if it breaks even, I would consider that a win. So, I mean, isn't that kind of what the big farms are doing today? You know, if you break even, you won. If you make a little bit of extra money, then it's an even bigger win. So, I'd like to hear what other people have to say. Just so if you have something to say, please leave a comment. Share this video. Tune back in Thursdays when the farming videos actually come out. And also the behind the barn videos. Um, be sure to click the link down in the description down below to the Facebook page and shoot me a question. Give me potential future topics, and maybe if you have a good question that I think that needs to be answered here on the show, on the channel, I'd gladly do that. But as always, I'd like to thank you all for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next one.